Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan coming to you live from the newsroom here at CNN News 18. Ladies and gentlemen, the ban on the PFI, the Popular Front of India, its affiliates, fronts and other related organizations is comprehensive. The government has already moved in to tell state police chiefs and of course state governments to start cracking down on PFI operations in their respective areas of jurisdiction. The government has also turned around and advised that bank accounts should be frozen of those members who are active with the PFI or accounts that belong to these fronts and organizations. So cripple the unit, ensure that there is no access to funds, but more importantly, start seizing and locking down their operational areas, their offices, etc. All of this under Section 3 and 4 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. CNN News 18 has also learned that post the government, that is the centre, banning the organization for 5 years, its affiliates, its fronts, all for 5 years, for a period of 5 years. Some of the states have also moved in to declare PFI and its affiliates, its fronts, and also those who are working with them as unlawful associations. So that's what they have done. This has been done by states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. But it doesn't stop here, ladies and gentlemen. Even as this domestic and internal crackdown and quite literally a surgical strike internally, that's what the likes of Narottam Mishra, Home Minister of Madhya Pradesh, have called it. And so have Sunil Deodhar, the National Secretary of the BJP. But more importantly, along with this crackdown, it's the relationship and affinity to radical terrorist groups and their ideology that is very clearly moving towards a pan-Islamic intent. That is what has put the spotlight on the PFI and its workings. Now the investigative agencies are setting up the foundations to establish this organization's intent itself as nefarious, something that needed or with the intent of changing the very DNA of Bharat, and that too by aligning with entities who have been proscribed the world over. Entities like the Al-Qaeda, entities like the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, entities like the Daesh or the ISIS. And that's where comes this big development. Mega CNN News 18 exclusive, explosive details that link this unlawful organization and unlawful association with radical rabid terror entities, which are themselves a bane on humanity. CNN News 18 has accessed exclusive details of the NIA and the Delhi Special Cell investigation into the PFIs and its various affiliates and fronts and organizations with the Daesh or the ISIS. Now, this is what Arunima has been able to get, and there are three important cases. The cases are largely with respect to PFI cadre in Kerala. The NIA investigation, this is what the ISIS module that was busted in Kerala for an anti-India plot. The suspect, Omar al-Hindi, organized an arms training camp. Omar Hindi was initially radicalized by the PFI. Omar was active in PFI's overseas wing, India Fraternity Forum. Suspect Safwan worked as a designer for a PFI mouthpiece. Safwan actively prepared and spread ISIS propaganda. Safwan was trained by PFI's parent organization, the NDF. Arunima now joins us live. Arunima, it doesn't stop with these two individuals. There are at least 15 of them, and some of them who are either killed in action while serving the ISIS, and others who are still with the ISIS.
Yes, and this is the evidence that NIA and the central government are going to put before the tribunal, which will ultimately uphold the government's decision to declare PFI an unlawful organization. That's the procedure under UAPA. You have to go to a tribunal. So while PFI, SDPI, CFI, the Campus Front of India have all been saying we are going to challenge this in the court of law, the government is confident that if that challenge comes, they will be able to defend it. You just mentioned Omar and Safwan. What is it that they're standing accused of? In the investigation, it has come up that these two had actually planned to carry out attacks against foreigners, especially Jews visiting the Vattakanal area near Kodaikanal. They also wanted to carry out attacks against senior police officers and Muslims who belong to the Ahmadiyya sects, as well as judges, to send a message. And you just read out to them how they were attached with the Popular Front of India. Omar, the charge is that he arranged conspiracy meetings for ISIS. He arranged physical training to the group members who wanted to join join ISIS, and he was radicalized by Popular Front of India at his native place. So that is case number one. The second case is that of one Shah Jahan. This is from the year 2006 when he joined the National Democratic Front. That was the precursor to Popular Front of India. He actually travelled on a fake passport to Turkey, and in this, the allegation is he was helped by even a head constable of the Kerala police. So the PFI network actually encompasses not just well-educated people in the private sector, but perhaps some people who are working with the government as well, some people in the police service. The third case about which they are talking is that the case which is called the Vallapattanam ISIS case. This is of 2017. The NIA got information that one Hamza, who was a Gulf returnee, was recruiting Keralite youths to travel to Syria, to travel to Afghanistan. He was arranging fake passports for them. He was arranging fake documents. There were travel agents who were on board, and these were all part of the PFI radicalization module. People who were regularly meeting up at PFI premises, getting trained by them, getting brainwashed by them. So this is the evidence that the central government is going to put forward to prove that PFI indeed is a dangerous organization, unlawful organization, collaborating with ISIS, and therefore deserves to be declared unlawful.
Right. Just stay with us, Arunima. We've got Pathikrit Pain also joining us. Pathikrit, so 2006 onwards, this organization and its members have been working with entities like the ISIS. 2016, 2017, strong cases. The PFI in the past has said if some of its members are doing something wrong, how can you blame the whole organization? The other question that begets itself is that if the NIA was aware that these things were happening since 2016, 2017, why wait until September 2022?
Yeah, Anand, first of all, if you look at it, what happened in 2018, in Jharkhand, PFI was banned, but unfortunately, the Jharkhand High Court actually stayed that ban order. So I think the agencies from then onwards learned that they have to have a far more comprehensive, foolproof case in place before they can go for further ban. Number two, yes, it is true. If you look at the nature of the beast, they will keep on mutating. They have been sending their cadre to ISIS for a long period of time, and now that is one part of the story where they would invariably be one of the reasons why they have been banned. But the other two important things that has to be understood. Number one, there is ED involvement in the investigation as well, because under the PMLA they have been getting funds from dubious places abroad, and from that they are bringing the money inside India through Hawala routes, which they have camouflaged in a very, very sophisticated manner. And that kind of money laundering is always done for nefarious activities. That's number two. Number three, of course, is the fact that of their association with certain organizations. It is not just ISIS, it is the organizations like IHH, which is an alleged NGO, linked to both Al-Qaeda and the Turkish intelligence agency called MIT. So if you are, collaborating with the intelligence agency of a foreign country, and then you are going there and you're getting funds, you're getting training. Remember, Istanbul was the hub for all the transit of all elements who are going to Syria for fighting on behalf of ISIS. And, in case of PFI also, they went to Istanbul. So when you are collaborating with a foreign intelligence agency, you invariably will be banned. But it takes time to gather the evidence. As you have also mentioned in the past, this is a very dynamic and a sophisticated organization. They have learned how to stay below the radar, and that's how they have camouflaged themselves. So I think it took a little time on the part of the agencies also to create the case. Now the case as it stands, it will be banned. The ban will be, I'm sure, upheld in the court of law. But the nature of the organization is such, Anand, that it will mutate even again. It will mutate even again. ISIS, when it was dismantled and destroyed in Syria, they asked their members to go back and do lone wolf attacks. The same possibility remains in this case as well. PFI for a long period of time stated that it is the individuals who did it, not PFI. But the kind of sophisticated organization that they have held to back them all the time, this time they will be finding it very difficult to steal the organization.
We put out the first case, Pathikrit, where this is one of the three cases that the NIA is going to base its investigations on, and of course justify the links to ISIS, which it has claimed in the government notification, and of course it will be the burden of proof raised on the prosecution. So case number 2, Arunima did touch upon it. We'll go back to her again and get more details on this. This is the second case, which is the investigation of the NIA and the Delhi Police Special Cell. Now, in this case, this is an ISIS module that was busted in Kannur in Kerala. 8 suspects linked to the PFI and its affiliates. These people held meetings to quote-unquote save Indian Muslims. The PFI leader Shamir motivated members to join ISIS. Terror suspects planned to get ISIS training in Syria. Shah Jahan, Shabir, Manaf and Shajil attempted to even enter Syria. PFI member Mustafa arranged for the fake passports. So, Arunima, here, this is yet another group, again associated with the PFI, again influenced by ISIS, and they all wanted to go and serve in Syria.
Yes, and I'm just reading out portions which clearly establish, as per investigators, the linkage between somebody who was radicalized enough to want to travel to Syria and the Popular Front of India. What is it that the investigators say? They say in the Shah Jahan case, who was a member of the National Democratic Front, NDF, let me remind our viewers, was a predecessor of the Popular Front of India, the previous avatar of PFI. He gradually got indoctrinated by the NDF leaders, came in contact with local PFI leaders. When NDF turned its form into PFI, this man came in contact with PFI leaders like Harish, Shabir, Manaf, Mustafa, Sadiq, Shajil and others. These are all people who have been named accused in this case for indoctrination. He used to attend all PFI meetings in 2008 where discussions were made on atrocities that were being committed on Muslims by non-believers in India and other parts of the world. Particularly Shamir, who was then the divisional president of the local unit of PFI, indoctrinated Shah Jahan with ISIS ideology. So this was not just about discussion of alleged injustice being committed on the Muslim community. They were being deliberately indoctrinated with ISIS ideology. After the declaration of caliphate by Abu Bakr Baghdadi of ISIS, Shamir motivated Shah Jahan to go for hijrah as per Hadith and Quran for waging jihad, as directed by Shamir, who was already in Syria. Shah Jahan, along with his wife and 2 sons, went to Malaysia in October 2016 and then from there to Syria. So that is the level of indoctrination and recruitment for ISIS that NIA investigation has found out. That's what NIA is alleging as far as PFI's role in terror conspiracy is concerned.
Now, just read the last paragraph. That's all the more interesting in this, Arunima. They say that in Malaysia, once they went to Malaysia, Shah Jahan, his wife, and he took his 2 children, 2 sons also there. There they were met by another person, Rashid. Yes. And they further moved from Iran to Iran from Malaysia. In Iran, Shajil and his family and Mildaj joined the group via Mangalore, Dubai, Iran, then further proceeded to Istanbul, Turkey. So this is like an organized, established network to export cadre from here to go and join the Daesh.
Absolutely, and this is the case where I was talking to you about the role of a policeman as well. If you see that list of accused there, one of the names that has come up, other than of course Rashid and others, one of the name that has come up is that of a head constable K. Murugan, who's charge sheeted and prosecution has been recommended, and the charge against him is that he criminally conspired for arranging Indian passport. Now his case could well be that he was not aware of where Shah Jahan was going and for what purpose, but nonetheless the fact that a head constable of Indian police is trying to arrange for a fake passport and a fake name for somebody tells you how much Popular Front of India was playing with the minds of people.
Now this investigation also goes on to say that one of them was actually deported. He was sent back to India, was arrested. This was a law enforcement agencies of Turkey apprehended Shah Jahan and deported to India on February 10, 2017. However, Abdul Manaf managed to cross the border and get in from Turkey into Syria. So they are actively like a feeder source, Patikrit Pine. The PFI was a feeder source.
Yes, of course. In fact, if you look at it, Anand, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please.
If you look at it, there was this another person who was working on behalf of ISIS to actually rope in people to join ISIS. See, if you look at PFI, individuals going to Turkey and then taking the transit from Turkey to Syria, even the ISIS cohorts in Syria, where Turkey would not have allowed them unless they have an institutional backup through an organization whom they trust. And that's where I think PFI role comes in, because without the backing of PFI, they would not have allowed individuals to go, because they would also have the fear of their, the counterparts infiltrating their organization. And if you look at the sophistication with which things happened in case of within India, in terms of mobilizing, in terms of indoctrinating, and then arranging for the passports and then sending it to Istanbul, that shows that PFI, an organization and its umbrella organizations, were very much active into it. Otherwise, something like this simply cannot happen. You simply cannot get hold of somebody and tomorrow and ask him to go and fight for ISIS. It would simply not happen.
Right.
And of course, PFI is a Wahhabi organization. There is no denial that there is enough trail to prove that they have been receiving funds from the Middle East for these ulterior objectives, which is about creating a Sharia law. And for that, definitely, they have been sending their people to fight for that same.
The thing is, how are they able to radicalize Indian citizens in Kerala to an extent where they thought that they have to take their wife and children also to go and serve for the cause of the Daesh? A proscribed organization with even nations in the Gulf have rejected. How is it that they were able to do this and then still stay under the radar and portray themselves as a very, very benign organization which has got no ulterior or nefarious motives or intent? That is shocking, absolutely shocking. Even as Shashikant former DGP Punjab, joins us this evening, we got more news coming through. This is the third case. The third case, one of the many cases, 3 cases that we've been able to get access to. Arunima has been able to get us these details, where the link between PFI and the ISIS is established, and the investigation authorities are going to present these matters in court to make a case that the PFI was actively not just pushing ISIS ideology, it was also sending cadre to fight for the Daesh, and they had similar intentions, or they identified with that thought process. ISIS cell that was busted in the Valapattanam in Kerala. The suspect Hamza plotted to recruit Kerala youth to ISIS. Hamza planned ISIS recruitment with top PFI leaders. Plot to join ISIS after taking refuge in other nations. Suspects entered Syria via Saudi Arabia, Malaysia and Turkey. 2 PFI leaders, Safwan and Manaf, were killed in Syria. 5 suspects, including Hamza, nabbed by Kerala cops before joining the ISIS. This is the story that Arunima, again, feeder source, top PFI leaders involved, active recruitment job, using multiple countries as point of entry. So go on a travel visa or a visit visa to this country. So it looks individual, sporadic, nondescript, but eventually converge somewhere from where you can cross the border and enter into Syria. So that is namely Turkey.
Yes, and we've spoken about Hamza briefly at the start of the show, but just to detail what the NIA investigation says. It says Hamza was a hardcore Salafi follower who used to preach in support of not just ISIS but also Taliban. After declaration of the Islamic Caliphate in Iraq and Syria, Hamza convinced at least 2 people. Evidence has come up of at least 2 people, could be more. Mohammad Samir and Abdul Manaf, both of whom were members of the Popular Front of India, allegedly, and they were convinced about the need to perform hijrah from the land of quote-unquote infidels. Mohammad Samir indoctrinated in ISIS ideology, and he passed on that ideology, that indoctrination, to others like Shah Jahan VK. We just spoke about Shah Jahan in our previous conversation. And one more suspect who goes by the name of Mohammad Shajil. They then moved to Saudi Arabia. We've spoken about the Turkey, Syria, Malaysia route. There was a second route opened up via Saudi Arabia. So there was various, fronts that were being opened up for these indoctrinated individuals, and they were being told to go to Syria. If they were being deported, it's not that they were giving up their ideology or returning to normal life. They were sleeper cells, and the suspicion is that they were then being kept ready to strike terror against India and the people of this country.
Right. Arunima, thank you for your inputs. I have limited time in this segment, so just quickly get Shashikantji's thoughts. Shashikantji, one, look at the language that they use. And that this is the language of those who are so rabid and so radical that they believe that no other religion or no other way of life should even subsist, persist or exist. And it all has to be replaced. So this is radical ideology. This is pan-Islamist ideology. They were pushing this.